crystal gems will always save the day. And if you think we can't, we'll always find a way. That's why the people of this world believe in garnets, amethyst, and pearl, and Steven!
Hi everyone, we are the Boob Tube Boys. We're also the Crystal Gems. As we talked about last time, we take on podcast supernatural powers. We all have our own supernatural powers anyway, so we kind of do it all. We're a little bit of a do-it-yourself podcaster type. Van Lee, hello.
Hi.
What are you going to do today?
I'm going to be an opal. Is
Oh.
that a gym?
Yeah.
It's also like an old lady name.
Opal, yeah, it's one of those O names for women that were really popular, I guess, around the turn of last century.
Opie.
Ophelia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
You know
a
what's
good one.
funny is you
Opal.
just named the fusion of amethyst and pearl.
Is that what an
Yes.
opal is?
Is that how that came up in your mind? That's
No,
interesting.
I just know it's a thing.
No, that's when
Interesting.
amethyst and pearl fuse together. That's what they are, is opal.
Hmm.
So you're going to be a fusion.
Apparently.
Who are you fusing with?
This kid. He's riding on his bike down the street, and he
No.
makes me mad because he gets in my driveway.
I
Is
hope
he
it's
okay with this fusing that's about to happen?
Doesn't matter, he's a
I hope
child.
it's consensual, but yeah, let's hope that it makes you a better. Let's hope it's a stable fusion, and we'll kind of figure it out from there. So, Brian, are you also fusing, or are you just going to do this alone?
I am not going to fuse. I have tried to fuse with my cat in the past, and it's been difficult. He
Well, he's
does
bigger
not
than
want to
you.
take human cat form.
You are
Yeah.
cat people now.
Yeah, have you ever seen that movie?
I have not. I've heard you and
It's kind of
Kimmy
fun.
talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun movie. Also, obviously, that David Bowie song is in there.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I'm always bad. I always forget to remember That's a great line. I always forget to say everyone's full names here in case you guys want to follow us, but we'll do that at the end. But I'm Spencer Hendricks. I'm hosting. We had Van Lee, who said he was fusing.
hmm
We have Brian Vaughn, who's not fusing.
Non-fuser over
Yeah,
here.
we've got a bunch of different
a non-fusing
opinions.
shapeshifter.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you are a shapeshifter.
That's
so.
canon for the podcast now.
It's out there. It always will be.
So now you know who we all are. If you listened to the episode earlier in the week, you know what we're talking about. It's Steven Universe. And we're going to do two, but we're starting with episode 25, Mirror Gem. We will jump to episode 49, Jailbreak, here. I'm guessing it's probably going to be about 30 minutes, because we're pretty good about doing that. We're going to make it about an hour every time, whether you
And
like it or
Jailbreak
not.
stars Michael Chiklis, right?
I would prefer to jump through this one as quick as possible so we can talk about Jailbreak forever, because it's a great episode.
Has Michael Chiklis ever done anything where he's not a cop?
What else? Take a look at Michael Chiklis.
True.
There
Because
are
he was
certain
the
things-
commish, right?
I believe he was
Okay.
probably. And then wasn't he something else
The
also?
Shield.
He
That's
was
the big
both
one.
the commish and the Shield?
Well, the Shield, I guess, is a lot of people say like Breaking Bad wouldn't have happened without the Shield. Like the Shield was a big deal because it was the first drama that really ramped up the violence, but also had things that got people interested.
I've never
so-
seen a second.
I haven't
of it.
either.
Maybe we'll Shield one day for this podcast.
I don't like cops. I'll get that
Well,
out
we've
there.
already done
who
some cop
does?
shows.
We
though.
have.
So we've already broken that. We've broken that glass.
Well, he
So-
didn't say he doesn't like Rangers.
Well, I was more thinking about the fact 21 Jump Street happened, which was traumatic for all of us.
I didn't
Or
like a lot
child
of those cops.
Have you guys recovered at all from that?
Oh, yeah. I'm over it.
Mostly, I've been hanging out with Pinhole a lot.
Yeah.
I
well-
did kill a bunch of people who don't have my exact worldview.
Well, that's something you learned from the show, so it's okay this time.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that what I learned is I'm on death row.
Well, that's okay. There'll be another appeal coming, I'm sure.
Well, that's what they keep saying. I'm just wanting a TV.
Oh, I'm just trying to keep myself awake.
I was so
That's all.
confused
I was
right now.
Van was doing the
I
finger
thought-
tap trick.
I thought maybe our technology is about to all go out, and he had to
I'm
do
just
some
whacking
little,
it.
some little voodoo dance to keep
yes,
it going.
you're just whacking it.
That's what we do.
Boob
on
Tube
the
Boys.
Tube Boys. That's right, guys. So, Ocean Gym, episode 26, same season, because they did 53 episodes in this first season, or 54, if you want to count the pilot, which we didn't. It's not on HBO Max. I don't know where it is, and we don't know. Yeah, Hulu. It's on Hulu as well. It's on a lot of things, but you're gonna have to pay for it because it's not free on Tubi like other stuff we've done.
No, Steven Universe
That's
is
too
not
bad.
on Tubi.
That's too bad. I love Tubi, but it doesn't have Steven Universe.
Still, Tubi, we love you. Reach out, please.
I've been talking to them. They don't answer yet, but they will. So it's a long game.
We're
It's like-
courting Tubi, kind of in the way that Steven might be courting Lapis. I don't know.
So in this episode, the synopsis is the ocean disappears on the first day of summer.
Shit.
And
This is a problem.
Beach City's in a panic.
It's not Beach City anymore.
I know. And the mayor has a line, Mayor Dewey has a line later that he says, without the beach, it's Desert City. I was laughing to myself that like if you take away the beach, it's just city, which is just like that's just some kind of generic name for a city.
Welcome to City.
Welcome to City. We have, because before they could, welcome to Beach City. We have these lovely beaches and this beautiful ocean. And now, I guess they still have the Fry Shack or whatever.
Yeah, they've got a few places.
Citizens.
Yeah.
We'll talk about everything that gets lost in this because we're not going to go too deep into it, but we've got a little bit of the side characters in this one that are scared along with the rest of the population about what this lack of ocean means for the town.
I would think this would also be worldwide news.
Apparently not, but it's a localized emergency. And we don't know this right away because this episode picks up, as we hinted at last time, it picks up right where it left off. It's kind of where Garnet's mad at Steven and she's grounding him. They're back in the house and Steven's still grounded. This seriousness is immediately halted, though, because Greg comes in.
Hell yeah.
He busts in and says, hey guys, there's something going on outside. The ocean's gone. That's the synopsis that we just talked about, so it would be weird if that didn't happen. But now we're outside. Mayor Dewey is already just distraught. He's distraught because without the ocean, it becomes Desert City, and there will be no tourists.
You know, when I first saw Mayor, what is his name?
Dewey.
I thought he was going to be the villain because he was about to
I mean,
plow
he's
over
not a
Steven.
good guy, but yeah, he's not really anything. He's
Seems
just,
more like a doofus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's obviously really schmoozy.
Yeah,
I think, and
Yeah. I
panicky.
don't think I think we see a little more of him. You know, he did almost run over Steven in his campaign van, so he doesn't really care about the
He
people.
does have a bullhorn, though, which always makes me
Mayor
think really sane.
Dewey is how he uses that bullhorn. Everyone's concerned about this, and they express it in such a fashion.
Oh, we're gonna lose our summer business!
And all the beach babes.
Who's gonna buy my fries? And my pizza? Who's gonna have fun at Funland?
As mayor, I demand you explain this immediately!
It was lapis lazuli.
The thing I loved, and I made that clip go on longer than it needed to because I love how Mayor Dewey is freaking out and Garnet has to just slap the bullhorn out of his hand at the end. That was fantastic because he's just going insane. What is going on here? And Garnet gets enough and she just
He's causing a panic amongst the people.
she just slaps that shit out of his face and says it was lapis lazuli.
That's why there aren't any babes here.
Yes, and so the other people, just I want you guys to understand each one of these people who were concerned. Obviously, Mayor Dewey is the one who is leading that whole panic. The Beach Babes is Lars. You guys know about that. Lars and his perversions and his big donuts. And actually, Mr. Fryman, we met in that first episode
With
we
his
did,
bits.
with the bits. Yeah, he's worried who's going to buy his fries. The guy who said who's going to buy my pizzas is named Kofi Pizza. And that place is
awesome
called
name.
Fish Stew Pizza. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. And Funland is Mr. Smiley, voiced by Sinbad.
No, it isn't.
I swear to God.
Wow.
Do you think-
swear
Okay,
to God.
I'm not kidding that I did think the voice sounded
Did you?
familiar.
So,
I didn't
okay,
know.
yeah. Who's going to have fun? I can't do a Sinbad impersonation. Who's going to have
No.
fun at Funland?
How did I get in this house?
Do you think he
From
showed
House
up
Guest?
to? Do you think he showed up to record at the studio with his like vibrant pantsuits or not pantsuits, like what are they? Windsuits, like wind
Like a
breakers.
tracksuit?
Yeah,
kind of?
tracksuit, that's
yeah,
it.
I would like to believe that he did, yes. And again, that he was kind of unannounced and maybe he was going to stay for a long time, but he helps everyone involved learn a lesson.
Do you think Jonathan Taylor Thomas is involved at all?
I think he was at least partially involved. I think he showed up.
What's the one where Sinbad was like a Secret Service guy to the president?
Oh, yeah, that's First Kid,
Maybe to the
wasn't it?
First Kid,
Yeah,
that's
First
it.
Kid.
With Brock Pierce.
I'm sure it's
Wow.
still common, but in the mid-90s, every movie was geared towards kids. Now, is that because I was a kid in the
I think
mid-90s?
so. It's got to be.
First Kid, a kid in King Arthur's court,
Richie Rich.
Rookie of the Year,
Now, for
Little
some
Big
reason,
League.
We're getting a little
They
bit
all
off
involve
track.
baseball.
It's fine though. I feel like the '80s was about it's about like coming of age things,
Yeah.
like Breakfast Club,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Maybe in the
Ridgemont High.
Tango
'90s they
and
were like,
Cash.
let's start, let's start not only talking to our kind of disenchanted youth people. Let's start looking at the young population and give them uplifting movies.
Yeah, let's give him some Casper, some Matilda,
I know.
Angus.
I don't know. This is kind of a deep dive. We can't quite. We're biting off more than we can chew, is the expression. So that's fascinating. But for now, we have to return to Beach City. At this point, we know that the town is in a panic, and the gyms know what's going on, and they explain Lapis is the one who caused this. They explain it. They're not really on good terms with the population. Everyone knows who they are, but they don't really know them very well, so they're kind of outcasts.
They just think of them as these powerful beings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just kind of there, and they protect everyone, but no one really likes them or knows them very well. And Garnet is she's very dismissive over Mayor Dewey's outburst there, so...
And I could see how you'd be intimidated by Garnet
Oh, yeah.
if you're the
And she's
mayor,
big.
or and strong-willed and kind of knows what she wants. 3 eyes.
Her power is like she just gets bigger fists.
She hides the eyes, except for that time Steven slapped off the goggles. So we're back to the house right after that, now that the town knows what's going on and why the ocean's gone. Pearl is talking about, as she does, she's pacing back and forth. She's anxious like Pearl is wont to be. And she says, I had no idea Lapis was so powerful. I didn't think she could do this. And Steven says, I caused this. I will fix it. I'm going to go do this on my own. So we've got everyone there. We've got the whole cast there. Greg and Connie are there. The Gems, of course. And Greg and Connie say, you're not doing this by yourself. I'll come. And
Of course,
also,
Greg's going to go. He's awesome.
He's got a van. He can get there.
Also, there's a lion here. Did you guys know at all anything about that? I would assume not.
I guess not, because I don't recall it.
There's a magical lion. Who's
Oh,
in
the
this.
lion. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I did see that thing.
That they just ride?
Also, yes, Steven and Connie are riding this thing
It's
around.
a magical lion that has some sort of portal to Rose. We don't know why. We don't know how. But he meets it in an episode just sometime a few before this one. And that's one of the exposition episodes between these. It's magical and
It's glowing.
it knows how to access stuff that Rose had stored. So it's some kind of portal to his mom's old possessions. And there's really and I don't know if it ever is explained, but we don't know for sure at this point what it is or what kind of magic it has. But it's Steven's pet, and it is magic, and it is a direct link to Rose. So that's all we know about the lion at this point.
It's also voiced by D. Bradley Baker, who voices all kinds of stuff, in particular, all of the clone troopers in the Star Wars, Clone Wars shows. And anyway, but he's been, I think, in SpongeBob. He's been in every animated show ever. He's like one of the most prolific voice actors.
D. Bradley Baker, good for him.
It's an interesting name. 3
Yeah.
of them.
3
Now,
days.
did you actually look that up, or did you make that up?
No, that's real.
I didn't know the lion had a voice actor. That was what was interesting to me.
It was when I IMDb'd it, and I was just looking through the cast.
Said
I
lion.
saw him, and I was like, oh, and it just said lion, and I was like, what the hell is that? And then I saw the lion. I thought, oh, that's what that
fascinating.
is.
Because I didn't go that far into my IMDb credits. I didn't need to know who did the
The
lion.
illuminated lion.
So good. That's something else we have there. So the lion's there. The rest of the gems are going to pitch in. Everyone's going to pitch in. Garnet even says, "You know what, Steven, you're not grounded anymore because they've got to figure this thing out together as a team." So all is well, but we do need to undo this thing, and Lapis is sort of killing everyone in the town. So we go into the van where the road trip happens.
Our second road trip, sort of. The first episode kind of also has a van road trip. With
dragging the cannon,
the light cannon, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot like that one, this one actually takes place at night and is blue lit and has another really cool look to it. And
they
feel.
do that sometimes. I noticed.
They use the color emotion range quite well.
Yeah, they do.
Where they'll push whatever it's supposed to be via color, and it looks good. It
Yeah,
genuinely
usually
does.
Greg's there when it happens, which
Yeah, that's
makes it
true.
awesome too. I also, around this point, like everybody, the gang's getting together. I think Greg's music is mentioned again, and so I see this long-haired guy. He's put on some weight. He's got facial hair. He's had big dreams musically and everything. Driving a van, and
What are you trying to say?
I just feel a kinship. I can't quite explain, and I feel like I'm glad I didn't have a child, but otherwise, I mean, it's pretty much. I'm frightened, guys.
What if your chubby little kid had the power of gold or gemstones or whatever? That'd be pretty
if
cool.
my kid was a troll doll, essentially, yeah, that would be cool. And my life's been kind of building up to that.
So we do have this road trip happening in Greg's van. The Lion's leading the way, and they're, like you guys talked about, I think Connie's riding him or something. The whole crew's in tow. Steven learns from Pearl at this point that what we talked about in the beginning, that gems are actually not like them, not the ones Steven knows, the three, Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet. And there's actually a kind of a war going on between them in that they kind of battle for territory, and they're not necessarily all good, which Steven didn't know. Steven just thought they were all, he's naive, he's optimistic. He thought they were all like the ones he knows. They're just kind of gentle creatures. But Pearl kind of reveals here, and this is the first time in the show that they cover this, that that's not the way it is. And Amethyst tells him there's been many episodes between the first one that we talked about and this one where they go out hunting, not hunting, but they contain corrupted gems and take them back. And Amethyst tells them all of those started out the way we are now, and they just became corrupted. So that's where you kind of get that background. And the gems, like I said, they find these, they contain them to keep everyone safe. They're there to protect the earth, which is not what most gems do. So that whole conversation is supposed to be a pretty big revealing moment. I don't know. It was hard when we were jumping around episodes. I don't know if you guys kind of noticed anything with that at all.
The thing that I took away from it was, I guess, sort of the metaphor of Steven growing up and having to learn that people like me aren't always cool, which seems prevalent, especially in today's world. Like, I guess speaking to this is we've all spent the bulk of our lives in the Midwest where you grow up and you don't necessarily think, oh, the people around me are actually like hateful toward entire segments of the population for no reason. And then as you get older, you have to be faced with that as people in your family, people that you know are just horrible. Sometimes, even though they bought you a cool Christmas present and they're nice to you.
And Steven feels naive in that regard. He seems like a very positive kid who sees the best in everybody.
I like that about him.
Yeah.
Go Steven.
And they're just trying to teach him, like, look, not everything's as sweet as it seems, or as nice as it seems.
Yeah, and if he would look at his poor, beleaguered musician father, he would know that you don't always get what you want.
Those are human troubles, though. These are gem troubles. And yeah, the interesting part about that is that the gems are clearly, although you could read it in a different way, that Lapis was telling him don't trust him. At this point, I think it's clear that they're just trying to protect him from all that, and now it's coming to a point where they can't anymore, so they've got to let him in on it.
And he's about to hit his teenage years, maybe. I don't know.
I think close. I don't really.
And he's going to rebel.
I don't think it says how old he is, but it's got to be around there. So here's where we arrive at where Lapis is got her whole thing going. I don't know how to describe this thing.
I don't either.
I called it an aquarium dome. I don't know what it is. But
that's the best I could come up with,
that's all the water is just spraying into the sky, and she's got control over the water. So she's up there, and she's on top of it, and she's angry. And they arrive, and Steven demands entry, and Lapis says, no, you're one of them. Because he didn't leave with her before, so even though they did bond, she's not really trusting him at this point. She's not going to let him in. So she pushes him back through her water force power, and then, here's the note I have, sends disturbing water-based replicas of the gems and Steven to attack the group, because we see a clone of all of the main characters, the good ones.
Water
clone. And they're coming at them in water form. So they all have to fight each other. I put time for a fight. Garnet on Garnet. Amethyst on Amethyst. Pearl on Pearl.
Ooh.
Lion
Pearl on Pearl action.
That sounded a little bit like Bruce Campbell in that Xena episode there.
Turn around, Pearl.
And Lion helps, and they're all fighting each other. Connie and Steven should be horrified, but they're kind of enjoying it.
They're having a great time.
They want to get in and help somehow. So
Greg also seems very eager to help with his van.
he sure
gets
does.
in the van, yes, and then Lapis. No, I'm sorry. It's actually Lapis's water, Steven, who throws the van that Greg is in, and just completely. I mean, it fucks Greg up. So
breaks his leg.
Something like that. Yeah, he's not okay. I mean, he's fine. He's not dead, but he's fine.
He can still rock.
He could still drive his van into your heart if he wanted to, but it'd be a little slower.
You can rock from a chair.
He wouldn't have the same power on his accelerator leg.
He also, when they pull up to this whole ocean dome setting, he comments immediately that it would make a cool album
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, that was pretty great. So Steven at this point has had enough. You fucked with my friends, you fucked with my dad, and he angrily confronts her. And without meaning to, I believe that we've seen this a little bit before this, but we see his secret power, which is a shield, which Rose had. So he inherited that from her.
Oh yeah, because he healed what's her name's Jim
Right.
Lapis in the second
and
episode.
that's coming up here actually.
Oh, okay.
That's coming up here after this.
Oh,
It's
that's
later
right,
in the series we get to see what he inherited from Greg, which is he can drink a beer really fast.
So when he activates his shield, it actually makes all of the. And let's remember, Steven's kind of a weird hybrid. He's both human and gem that no one else is. So for whatever reason, his power activates his shield, and all of the water enemies disappear. They go away, and now he can enter the water dome, whatever it is.
2-man enter, 1-man leave.
He can-
Water dome.
He can enter without permission, and he's just gonna have it out with Lapis. I feel like that's a British expression. I'm gonna have it out with you.
Have it out with Lapis.
Have it out with lupus. That's what happens in a house
Have
episode.
they knighted Lapis Lazuli yet?
You know, I was getting in a big fight with my friend. We just had it out the other day. No one says that. Like, I
Had
mean,
it out.
unless it's a different culture. So, but Lapis isn't happy to see him at all, and she thinks the gems don't care about other gems, which is, again, not anyone on Earth. It's their own planet. She's saying like they care about Earth. They care about humans. They don't care
Yeah.
about us.
And they also know that they're hunting gems.
And they
in a
trapped her
sense,
in a
like-
mirror for
Yeah.
years, apparently.
Yeah, and that was her ultimate source of like, you guys knew I was trapped in this mirror, and you told Steven I was like a bop it.
Yeah, so she's saying, you know, there's something fucked up about this, and you're part of that. So I can't be okay with this. And Steven's basically just saying like, hey, I get it. I know you just want to get home. I value my home too. You took my home when you took all the water from it. So he has that little conflict negotiator moment there where he's sort of leveling with her like, yeah, I'd want to get home too if I were you. And that's why you shouldn't have ruined ours. So she says, I can't get home. I would, but the part that Van talked about earlier, she's got a cracked gem in her back, and that's preventing her from getting home. This takes a little bit of time, but we'll gloss over it. Steven figures out in the episode right before this one that his saliva has healing powers. Yes. It happens with Connie. It's not anything dirty. Just he figures out that
She had broken lips.
and he licked them. He licked them good. No, he figures out in the episode right before this that he can heal through his saliva. So that's why, you know, at least he doesn't lick her gemstone. He licks his hand and puts it on the gemstone.
And he does say this is going to be weird.
He does. He prepares her. Now, I don't think that would really fix it if someone told me this will be weird and they spit in their hand and put it on my back. That would
No.
still be weird.
Usually when someone spits on their hand, something different's about to happen.
Isn't that the start of a wet willy too? Like the, you know,
I mean, probably so, yeah.
I forget. Like, I guess you don't spit. You just put the finger in your mouth or something. I
Who
don't know.
Wet
invented
lupus.
that? Like, I'm going to
Willie.
lick my finger and shove it in your ear.
Sounds pretty hot to me. Is it Dawn? No. Oh, no. I butchered it. I almost said Dawn Pierce. What? Pearl? Is it Pearl doing it?
Then
Fine.
you're in for
Fine.
sure. Pearl is your new...
I'm sexualizing this cartoon character. is
Yeah,
what I'm
you
doing.
are.
I
yeah.
agree, though. I think Pearl in her uptight fashion is attractive in her own stupid, neurotic way.
Something about her.
Yeah, I agree. But in any case, we learn that Steven can help. So he licks his hand, puts it on her back, and fixes her right up, as I put on here. And Lapis sprouts water wings, and she leaves.
Pretty awesome.
And she's so grateful. And the ocean returns because she goes and everything that she sucked up in her little water dome comes back, and it's very violent. I mean, there's a lot of water just splashing from the stratosphere into the city, which is not good.
What'll
But-
happen to the fry bits? That's what I'm
That was
concerned
one of
about.
my chief concerns.
But it does come back. And we see Mayor Dewey, his plan was to water it with a hose. He's crying. He's there, and the whole thing's
I can
dried
see
up.
why they elected him. I
Yeah.
mean, smart guy.
Go
Well,
get
there's
her.
not many options in Beach City, so he was the best candidate they had. But yeah, as he's doing that, the water comes back down, and it's a lot. It's all the water. The crew comes back in the van. Unfortunately, the end breaks down on the way back, but they've already made it close enough to where it's not a big deal, and that's where Pearl gives her little line. She cheers Greg up with his pork chops line.
Well, what's that thing you always say about the pork chops and the hot dogs?
That's her way of cheering Greg up when that happens.
I feel like it must come up in the series
a lot,
a decent amount
it
with
does.
that kind of premise of like, that thing, the hot dog thing.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. So that's Pearl's way of saying, hey, I know your van's broken again, but we made it back. Everyone is received as a hero. The town's saved. It's good for now, but it's very clear something is going to have to be determined with Lapis getting away. We don't know what that is. We've never met another gem before, and we don't exactly know what her motivation is, what the gem's motivation, like Steven's gems, are at this point. So that's where we kind of leave off here.
A lot of shows like this, I would assume Lapis Lazuli, I like saying that name, would just be like a 2-episode arc or something like that, and then goes away and they're on to their next adventure. But the show did a good job of making me be like, oh, this is probably an important character that's involved later. And then we find out in our next episode, yes.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely the case. But there's something I really liked about the way of Steven and Lapis having some sort of common ground of just feeling like different. That seems to be the through line that connects them, even though they're very, very different characters. Steven is very open and accepting. And then Lapis, you see her kind of be extremely grateful for what Steven does, but then she's like, okay, see you later. She's not as I don't know, she's got a colder personality and maybe a more fatalistic one than Steven.
Yeah, and she's not like the gems he knows, too.
No.
So it puts him right in the middle of it. Did you have any thoughts about the way that one ended at all?
Not really. This one was clearly a setup episode for just the series overall. It also cleared the arc of Lupin or Loomis. I can never remember her name. Lupus, that's right. And it was fun. I enjoyed this one. I thought there was a little more action, so I guess it kept my attention a little more, even though I don't tend to be an action-oriented person when I watch things. But I thought this was a fun episode, but it really... The next one takes it to a new level. It was my favorite episode.
Yeah, Spencer, you said this earlier, but this whole part of the show seems like it is
world building,
setting things up. Yeah, it's essentially, let's get the plate spinning and then see what happens.
All the stuff that we talked about on the outset there was the gem war is taking place, and what these Earth gems are doing, who are very rare, is not something you know at this point in the show until you figure it out as a viewer in this episode. So there's a thing that's happening here where they're dropping the bombshells as Steven learns them. So you're kind of along with him for that, where it's like, oh, gems aren't always good. There are some bad ones, and we don't know if Lapis is one of them. It's pretty clear she's not, but it's also clear that there are some bad ones, and it's clear that Earth is in danger. And that's why Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet are here to make sure that those gems do not destroy Earth, because they would if they could.
Now, in the series, would the episodes mostly to this point be whatever the conflict is, it's just something small and local, like he needs to help the fry guy get this ingredient, and this is the real action-oriented with the war between the gems? Or have there been villains to this point?
There have been a few villains, but mostly what you said is true. Is like they make it very lighthearted. Most episodes are just you learn the locals. And yes, you kind of learn how Steven is, and you bond with Steven, and you see like how sweet and well-meaning he is, and how the gems care about him. But the gems also go on side missions every couple episodes just for exposition, where they go find a corrupted gem, and you don't know what it is, but they go do that, and Steven's always being like, can I come with you? And sometimes they let him, sometimes they don't. And they go and they bubble these things up and they bring them back so that they won't have to worry about them. I don't know, whatever they do, the rehatching and killing everyone. So there's
rehatching like a
the rehatching is nigh.
I don't know exactly how it works, but
I like it.
That's what they're doing the entire time. That's why they're on Earth, is they're actually looking for these corrupted gems that were infected in the gem war, and they're doing that constantly.
I wonder what their plan is if they ever get them all, if they ever catch them all, like throw a Pokeball at them.
They seem to really feel like Earth is their home, and there's not a whole lot to be gained from this, but they all came from Homeworld except for Amethyst. Amethyst was born on Earth. That was a whole thing. That was an entire episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's got a backstory that's making her a little more troubled than she should be, and that comes up in this next one. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit.
But first, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about that episode.
Amethyst and Pearl and Steven!
This last episode is going to take by far the most time, I think, so let's get into it. It's episode 49, Jailbreak. The synopsis is Steven teams up with a new ally to rescue the gems. And I love this episode. You guys liked it too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this was the best one. I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Of the four.
There's a reason I wanted this to be the last one we talked about, because it's the official end of, well, it's not, there's like two after, but it's mostly the end of that really long season one. And after everything in this, I think things got nuts, a lot more serious the rest of the way, because you see the stakes now with this. You see the villains and plain broad daylight, so to speak. What happens here is we missed a little bit of this. The episode right before this, we finally learn that what the gems are doing, the earthbound gems, it's alerting the, I don't want to say evil, but the home world gems. They realize, hey, Earth is supposed to be for collecting resources. Why are people getting in the way of our projects here? So they realize Steven's doing it, the gems are doing it, and there's a character, Peridot, who we meet in this episode, who is in charge of Earth, who's overseeing it and supposed to make sure that the cluster, which is the weapon that the gems have to destroy Earth, is intact.
And Peridot is the hair metal villain from this episode?
No. One has a different name.
No. The smaller one.
The green one.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's Jasper, the big one.
Oh, yeah.
Sidewalks made for regular walking, not for fancy walking.
The OG Jasper.
I love that actually is the Simpsons guy's name is Jasper. I've got a note about the cluster because it was hard to remember, but it's a mass weapon of destruction in the Earth's core that the home world gems just put in Earth, made up of millions of shards of shattered gems. If they're forced to fuse and they form, it will rip the Earth apart, so it will destroy the planet.
I could see how that would be an issue.
It's a problem. The gems, the good gems on Earth, they know that can't ever happen. Steven plays an integral role in that later in the show.
Well, why did the bad, quote-unquote, gems do that? Is it fail-safe to destroy the planet?
I guess so. They don't care about Earth. They just want the resources.
Right.
So maybe if the Earthlings are like, hey, don't mine us for resources, they could be like, we'll just kill you.
I think maybe they would anyway when they got it all. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they don't care about humans, and that's what's different about our gems.
That makes them actually seem like humans.
Yeah. They look
They're
like
not
them,
caring
except
about
for the
humans.
eyes part and all that stuff.
And the magic powers. Yeah, sure.
They look like them.
Same thing. Yeah, they do. They're what? What's that term? Anthropomorphic or whatever? Yeah.
So that's kind of the big takeaway here that we have to remember, is that these gems are not like the others, and there is a weapon of mass destruction buried in the Earth's core from these gems, and they're trying to finish that project.
Is there, or is this like they're telling us that there's one?
No,
but
it
in
is.
reality, there's oil in the Earth's core.
They have done that. It's just it has to be fully formed, and Steven is the one who ends up stopping it someday.
Oh.
And then Amethyst goes on a hunting trip and accidentally shoots her friend. Yeah.
This is getting way ahead, but I'm just setting up the context because they talk about the cluster later in this episode.
Sure.
So anyway, we open here in this crazy one. The one what happened right before this is Peridot has been in a few episodes before this one we didn't see, and she's wondering who is fucking with my. I don't know. She's setting up various pieces of equipment that help the cluster. That's her main responsibility. She's saying someone's messing this up, so she's getting the villains on Homeworld involved, and they end up coming to Earth to investigate it. Jasper's there. That's who we see. What would you call her?
Hair metal type villain.
She looks like Zero from Mega Man X, if anybody knows what that is.
So Jasper comes with Peridot, and they find just the three of them, and just the three gems and Steven, and Jasper's not concerned. She's like, you brought me here for this? And then she reveals things about each one. Pearls are actually common on Homeworld. There's a bunch of them, and they're just slaves. So Pearl is a self-aware one who went against her programming on purpose because she wanted to be more than that. But usually on Homeworld, they're just like, they just serve. They're just like maids or whatever. And they don't think for themselves. Amethyst, who was born on Earth, was in her incubation period too long and is overcooked is what she calls her. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
She's an overcooked amethyst. she's smaller than most amethysts are on Homeworld, and Pearl knows this, but Amethyst doesn't because she was born on Earth. She's revealing all these things. She's like, there's no threat, there's no Rose. She's looking for Rose. She doesn't know where Rose is. She's like, this is fine. You can handle this yourself. And then in the process of this whole thing, Steven's shield power comes out, and that's where she realizes, oh, we have something new here. We have a half human, half gem hybrid who maybe is a threat and has Rose's power. So at that point, they get a little scared and they capture them all. And that is why they're all in jail at the start of this episode.
You got to imprison what you don't understand.
Yeah, that's how it works.
In the process of this, in this episode before, by the way, they and it's very important to set this up, but we can't cover all the prequel episodes, so to speak. They evacuate Beach City at this point. There's no one in the town. Mayor Dewey goes through and actually uses a bullhorn. I'm not kidding. He uses his bullhorn to evacuate everyone.
He
so
loves
it's just the gems and Steven when that ship comes down to get him, and they have the fight, and it doesn't work out.
Well, I'm glad they were safe for everyone else.
So there's a...
How's Greg?
Rockin'.
Okay.
I'm sure Greg got evacuated as well because he wasn't a part of this.
And
But
he's mobile.
there's
His
an
house
Probably
moves.
watching like Steely Dan live clips on YouTube.
There's an important thing to know here, which is that Garnet is fighting Jasper in this prequel episode, and Garnet gets hit with some sort of device. I forget what it's called, like a diffuser or something, and it doesn't shatter her gem, but it ruins her body. It ruins her body, and it breaks her into just her gemstone. So it's just her essence is all that's left. This comes up huge in this episode next. So that's important. They bring what's left of Garnet, and then they take everyone as prisoner. And that's where we start this episode with Steven waking up in jail.
Now, does the audience know that the Garnet twist at this point, or do we learn it in real time in this episode? Okay.
No.
So when they destroyed her, it was just poof. Okay,
Yes.
we're going to take her
Yeah,
in.
you're not
All right.
actually supposed to notice that she breaks into 2 gemstones
Okay.
when they break her body form.
Gotcha.
And when you go back and look at it, you can see it. But yeah, it was subtle. It was subtle. It looks like her. I told you, like when their body form is compromised, their gemstone is fine as long as it's not shattered or
Right.
whatever. So that's what you think happened.
Okay.
You don't realize. So when we go to the episode, Steven's awakened. Looks like he's been beaten up. He's got like
Got
a black
eye, yeah.
He's in a cell. He's worse for the wear. He calls out for the gems. He hears distant sounds of distress all over this prison, whatever it is. And there's a magical barrier. It's designed to keep gems from leaving it. Here's the thing. Steven's not all gem. He's half human.
Dun dun.
So he can get through these magical
Yeah,
barriers.
and I guess they didn't know that.
No.
How could they?
I
The
don't
captors.
know. But albeit there's some kind of weird like vibrating sound he makes when he goes through them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he has the sound of like talking while your head's out a car window or something. Whenever he tries to
He's
talk.
like getting zapped a little.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
voice is vibrating.
Yeah, kind of like he's going through an electric fence or something, but he can get through it. The others can't. So the first prisoner he comes across is Ruby. She's angry. She doesn't understand how he's escaped, and she can't. The two of them are talking. They hear the singer, which is there's somebody singing this beautiful song in the background. We don't know who it is, but we hear it in the background. Ruby knows who it is. This is the angry prisoner, Ruby. And she doesn't want anything to do with Steven, but she does know the singer. She says, that's Sapphire. I've got to get to her. Ruby's desperate to rescue her.
It's my
Steven's-
birthstone, guys.
Sapphire.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very,
This is relevant information.
it is.
For the
It's
podcast.
very useful. I'm glad that I know that.
See, when it came out, I ended up buying Pokemon Ruby and not Pokemon Sapphire, its counterpart.
What about Emerald?
Emerald and
Green?
there was another one. They released Pokemon games in 2s, and you could only get so many Pokemon in
Yeah.
one. I don't remember Emerald's counterpart, but it was Ruby and Sapphire.
You guys know a lot about gems.
And
I'm
Pokemon.
impressed. I think it was probably more based around Pokemon, I'm assuming. That was your knowledge.
Pretty much.
Ruby doesn't care much about Steven. She just wants to rescue Sapphire.
She's a hot-headed.
She's
Got a cool headband.
yeah, you know, she's kind of she's very aggressive. You know, she's not mean, but she's very dismissive of Steven. She does get out, though, thanks to him.
Hey, maybe sometimes a little bit of stick-to-itiveness and aggression in a personality could be a good thing for someone
Maybe so.
when combined with another part of a
Oh,
personality.
what do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't know. We'll probably
I
get
actually
around to
find
it.
this interesting, and I can't wait to ask you guys about this. The next person they come across is not Sapphire who's singing, but Lapis. She's in prison.
Oh,
She doesn't
poor
want
Lapis.
help. She doesn't want help. She says
She's defeated.
She says, just let them do what they're doing. Let's go back to Homeworld. That's where they're taking them, apparently, on the ship that they're in. And maybe they'll be nicer to us when we get there.
Is this the first time we've seen Lapis since our episode that we just covered? Or has she been in throughout the series?
She may have been just briefly, but yeah,
Okay.
the main, the idea of their relationship we've already gotten.
Right,
So
okay.
we can see why she trusts Steven, but is also kind of like, no, I don't want to outright rebel against them. Let's just do what they say. So she likes Steven, but she also won't really listen to him, you know? So that comes up here. She stays in her cell and he says, look, okay, I understand, but I'm coming back for you after I save us all because we got to fight this. And she says, no, let's not fight. Steven's a fighter. He's optimistic. He's a good boy.
And a violent fighter. Not really, but
He's
he
a protector.
doesn't
He's
want
got the
to-
shield. He's not like a fighter. He's someone who
Yeah.
He
when you
wants
look
to-
like Pat from Saturday Night Live, you're not going to be a fighter.
So at this point, we see Peridot and Jasper. Jasper's the hair metal person. Peridot's who's been in this. I don't think Jasper was in anything before this episode, before this, that we didn't watch.
You know what Jasper would like? Steven's dad's music.
Yeah,
I think
wouldn't
she'd
we
be
all,
into it.
though?
Yeah, that might be a little too poppy for her, though.
Yeah,
it
that's
might
true.
be a little too commercial.
Well, if they start a label, I mean, you might want some diversification of the
Maybe
kinds
they
of
could
artists.
fuse. Maybe we
yeah,
could do-
There we go.
And their label would certainly be rock because of the...
Ah, the gemstones. Yes.
So Jasper
Oh,
and Peridot
man.
are talking. Jasper says, look, you know, none of this matters. We need to find Rose. Let's set course for Homeworld, which,
Oh.
of course, we know nothing about. But
Is Rose a gym?
Rose is Steven's mother.
Yeah, but is it a gym? Like Amethyst,
Oh, 'cause
Jasper,
they all have
these
the
are all
names.
gyms. What?
Rose Quartz is her full name.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense. That makes
I think I said that, but I've just been
I
calling
think
her
you
Rose.
did now that you mentioned
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, it's just, it's. I don't know why she has the other name. I don't know.
Maybe there's multiple quartzes.
I don't know. Maybe we don't know Amethyst.
Ask me if there's multiple quartzes.
Are there multiple quartzes?
Of quartz.
Wow, I didn't expect that. That was delightful.
Yeah, it was. It was a good job.
That's my only rock joke that I have.
So far.
You guys ready to meet Sapphire?
I'm ready.
She's a delightful singer, isn't she?
She is quite
Yeah.
a delightful singer.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her nonsensical
Ah,
noises. Yeah, there were no words.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of another,
Sounded like a siren song, like a mermaid might do.
or like
Maybe
a
you shouldn't
succubus
go to
or
that.
something. Yeah, it seemed a little bit evil.
Odysseus is
In the
crashing
desolate
over.
hallways of this spaceship, which reminded me
However-
of the Death Star.
Also, it was a hand. Wasn't
Yes.
it like a hand?
The ship was
Yeah.
a hand.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's what shows in that previous episode. What's interesting about this? How we say she's evil. She is so sweet when Steven finds her. The opposite of Ruby. The opposite.
Weird.
Like she's.
I wonder what you get if you combine those two.
I still don't get it. I know what you guys are saying, but I don't get it. When Steven meets Sapphire, she's incredibly welcoming to him, and she calls him by name. Ruby did not. She never acknowledged Steven at all. But Sapphire says, like, you know, she clearly knows who he is. She takes him by the hand. He lets her out. They go off. They find Ruby. And this is a whole different communication thing. Again, when Steven met Ruby, she was kind of rude, but was like, where's Sapphire? When Sapphire met Steven, she was just happy to see him. He leads the two of them together. They fuse. We learn Garnet has been a fusion this entire time.
Dun 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 dun.
Now, this was something that took me by surprise. Again, this is a kid's cartoon, and
Right.
they're supposed to be two little girls, and they just start making out with each other.
They're not little girls.
Well, they're women, but anyway, that surprised me, and not negatively, of course. But I was wow, this show's actually going there, and then they turn into Garnet or whatever.
Yeah. Garnet, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool little reveal there that Garnet is only so awesome and powerful because she's two people fused together
Too much smaller people
to
could
create
use that.
3 eyes.
And that's why she has those eyes, and that's why they're different colors. If you see that one scene where
Oh yeah.
where they knocks the goggles off, they're weird colors, and again when she gets, you guys didn't see this, and when she gets destroyed, not really in that episode before, it's two gemstones that clack to the ground if you look, and that's something I wouldn't have noticed. It's very subtle.
Do you think there's a fourth eye somewhere?
No.
I think there's.
I think we've covered all the eyes.
There's a brown eye.
Oh, you beat me to it.
The pooper.
No, but this.
Wait, do they poop? Because they don't eat.
I don't know.
They poop like gravel.
I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a great question.
It'd be really painful.
We need to get a
The
gemstone
blood.
expert on the line here.
That's right.
So I really this was supposed to be a huge deal at the time because you have no idea the whole time. This is 50 episodes in.
Mhm.
You don't know. And they talk about fusions all the time. I know we didn't see them, but they talk about it all the time. And you even see some of the fusions, some like Pearl and Amethyst or whatever, and what happens when they do it. You never know that Garnet's been one the entire time. And theirs is so stable because they get each other so well and complete each other so much that they can just stay that way.
Now, does anyone else know?
I don't.
Well, I think like Pearl. and
Yeah,
Amethyst
they know, but like I don't believe like the other gems know. That's a good one because like I'm not sure.
I don't think they do because doesn't Jasper one of them be like, oh, you're a fusion?
At the end, yeah, she does kind of insult her in the episode before where she says something about she's an. I forget what the term is, but some kind
Muggle.
of like you're an something like that. You know, like you're an embarrassment, mentioning Garnet. So they may know, they may recognize it, but in any case, this is where the viewer learns, and it is a huge deal that Ruby and Sapphire make up Garnet, and that's
it's kind of saying Garnet's our strongest character,
yes.
and it takes two people to be that strong.
What do you think
you got to
about
work
that?
together.
What do you think about that? You
That's
don't like
pretty
it?
good.
Okay,
I like that.
Good.
I like the idea that unity would be a way to improve upon just flailing
If you
against
have
the
the-
darkness.
if you have the right combination of personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just in general also. Like
Well,
the
and
idea
sometimes
of
it
like,
doesn't. You can't really-
sometimes you've got to fuse. Sometimes you got to work with other people
Sure.
to get
achieve
anything
your goal.
done. Yeah.
That's fair. I can get behind that.
Good message for kids for sure in this me first America.
It is uplifting. I actually thought it was nice. And when she becomes Garnet again, Steven's there and he's like, holy shit. He doesn't say that, but he's like, holy shit, you're a fusion? And she's like, Steven. She's so happy to see him. And he says, I can't believe Ruby and Sapphire are you. Did I make a good first impression? And it's this very nice moment. She
I
It's
can't
very
believe I just
heartwarming.
saw you make
Very.
out with yourself.
It was pretty hot.
She says, you don't need to. We already love you. It was wonderful.
He's like, you can show me at my birthday party. I'll pretend I didn't know.
Right, yes. So this thing, she gives him a kiss on the forehead here. It's not just out of fondness. Garnet has this ability when, like, I guess kind of like Steven spit, where if she kisses, I don't know what it's, if lips or whatever, it gives them future vision. It gives them future vision. So Steven is somehow able to kind of see if he moves ahead from here on out.
That's what I had in my notes was that she's able to kiss the future into Steven.
There you go. So now you know. Now you know why Steven's spit heals and why Garnet's kisses give you future vision. That's the whole thing going on here.
What does Pearl spit do?
You'd
what
like
I
to
wanna
I feel
find
like
out.
you want. I feel like you want to know. Oh man, there's so much exposition here. I'm worried that we've really kind of lost everyone that would be trying to listen at this point. We're wrapping it up though. We're getting to a huge climax.
I could make a joke about Pearl in a huge climax, but I will choose not to.
Jasper's shouting in the distance once we figured out that Garnet's a fusion. They have that heartwarming moment. It's time for action. I love the scene. Garnet bestows future vision on Steven, as we talked about, sends him to the control bridge. And then Jasper confronts Garnet and mocks her for being a fusion. She says, you know what? You're pathetic that you need a second person to do this. And Garnet doesn't think so. What does she have to say?
This is Garnet, back together. And I'm never going down at the hands of the likes of you because I'm so much better. And every part of me is saying, go get her. The two of us ain't gonna follow your rules. Come at me without any of your fancy tools. Let's go, just me and you. Let's go, just 1 on 2.
Just the two of us. No, I like
We
that.
can make it if we fuse.
The only thing I didn't like about that, and this is me being anal, is
I
I understand it's for the rhyme, but
I
it's
liked it.
just like I don't.
Oh,
like
well,
that.
I also actually wondered, is that the natural accent? Because
It
there
could
are
be,
a couple of syllables that go that direction.
She has an interesting
And she
accent. I
is
don't know what
British.
her. Oh,
She's
it's British.
British, yeah.
Okay, that's what it is then.
Yeah.
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 That makes total sense.
Now, granted, I'm sure she intentionally
Sure.
wrote that in there, knowing that she could do that. But
Yeah.
I didn't mind that at all. What's funny about this, and I would have loved to include the entire rap. She doesn't stop there.
It's the whole
It goes
fight.
on
It's the
like
whole fight
another-
Pretty cool.
It goes on like another minute as she's fighting Jasper, and of course beating the shit out of her because she is better as a fusion. And that's the point, and she kind of does rub that on Jasper's face. I think you're just bitter because you're single or something. Some
Yeah.
line like that. You know, it's a whole thing. Like, I can do this. I can beat you.
You're
It's
just
like,
bitter because you ain't got no man.
So what did you guys think of the presentation of this fight scene?
I really
with
did.
the song?
I found it surprisingly effective for some
This is
reason.
my favorite part of the whole
Did you-
show that we
wow.
watched.
Yeah,
I
it was
really
really
liked it.
cool. And this is something, this is actually a really good time to talk about this. There's a couple of, I mentioned earlier that some of the art stuff in the show, but I'll also add the facial expressions and some of the mouth movements and then the eyes reminded me of anime tics and things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I felt that too.
This, along with some sort of beepy boopiness to the soundtrack and some sort of things like that, reminded me of like a Scott Pilgrim type thing,
Oh.
almost like some of the like some of the elements of these episodes did, and then the idea of just like, oh, we're gonna have someone just sing while they fight this person.
Well, the
You know,
musical
that sort of-
aspect of it was awesome. And I
Yeah.
kind of wish they do a little more of that. That we saw it in the first episode with the cool van song.
Right.
We saw this, and I thought after seeing the van thing that's kind of, it was just going to be very sing-songy.
I think
Yeah.
it does happen a lot of times, just not so much in the ones we got.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, there's in Giant Woman where you first learn about how fusions work, which is like, I don't know, it's like episode 12 or something. That's Steven sings that one. It's a great song. There's
Giant
some really
Woman?
good. Yeah,
It's
Giant
pretty
Woman.
good.
There's some really good songs. So you're right that
Okay.
is a common element. We didn't get it so much.
And I liked it a lot. I mean, that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, so they fight. Jasper and Garnet fight, and she's demonstrating how strong she is as a fusion, and overpowering, as I put down, evil, bitter Jasper. And the gems reunite with Steven as the ship goes down. There is no time to rescue Lapis. They were only able to defeat the main baddie here, and then they've got to get the fuck out of here. So they land safely because Steven puts them in his shield bubble that he inherited from Rose. But the most part here is like this was a very catastrophic landing, and things are not good for the ship. Jasper is intact, but
Jasper's strong, though.
she's
I
very
mean,
strong.
very built.
she's very strong. She's a little bit shaken, but she gets up and she points her fucking finger. She points her finger at Garnet and she says, "The only reason you beat me is because you're a fusion. If I could do this too." Now Lapis, like again, they didn't rescue her, but she's there. She's there. She also crashed safely somehow. That's convenient. But she says, and this is kind of a forced fuse, in my opinion. It's hard to read this, but she says, "Lapis, fuse with me, and we can beat them."
Yeah.
So they, she talks.
Lapis
seemingly-
has the choice at that point to go with Steven and his crew or to join forces with Rock and Jasper.
And she refuses to go with Steven and them. So
No,
we're like,
again,
oh, no.
again, it's not the first time. Yeah, she just doesn't
Mhm.
trust them. So she does agree to fuse with Jasper. I'm not clear how consensual it was. Or I'm not
Yeah,
sure what they were saying.
She does agree. Because she grabs Jasper's hand as kind of the "I'm choosing your side" is what we're supposed to think.
A monstrosity is formed. I forget what the name of this thing is. It might have a name, but it's huge and it's an ocean monster.
Japlin.
It is the combination of fusion and Lapis, and this is some sort of major disaster for the gems. I don't know that they could have beaten her, but fortunately, it's a trick. Lapis is in her last goodness in her heart and her bond with Steven, drags Jasper in their combined form at the bottom of the ocean, and she just shackles them there, where presumably they stay forever.
Yeah, that's her attitude about it. And I think that's the real impetus, is she's like, fuck you, Steven, and your friends and the gems. Fuck you, Jasper. And you know what, Jasper? I'm becoming chains, and we're just going to sit here forever and both suffer. Because Lapis has a very... I'm going to say it. I think Lapis is depressed, guys.
She's very much,
Well,
I'm taking you down with me.
Yes.
She was kind of trapped in a mirror for a long time, so I
Yeah,
get
she's
that.
had a rough time of it psychologically. So I think at this point she's just like, I'm not getting involved in this fight, and I'm going to tether myself to Jasper to defuse it, but like...
But I'm also not
Yeah.
going to side with the
We
Gems
both
and
go down
Steven.
together.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. I don't know if they address that later. They probably do. But that's how it ends. Connie calls Steven, says what's going on, because at the end of that episode we just talked about that we didn't watch, it ends with Steven calling her and trying to get hold of Connie and being like, "Hey, are you here? The world's ending." Something like that. And this is where that comes back, where she's like, "Steven, what's going on?" And that's the end of this. This is setting up a major thing that they have to deal with the rest of the way, because now you know clearly how evil the homeworld gems are and what the Earth gems are up against. And again, presumably that's the entirety of the rest of the show, is we actually have true villains here. We're not just fucking around. It's not just
You're
a lighthearted
dealing with
show.
Homeworld, and presumably Jasper's not the top dog. They've got like a Palpatine up
Right,
there.
yeah, I can't think that's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So you're just now getting the sense that this is a pretty serious situation for Earth, and that's why the gems were there this whole time.
Yeah.
And there's more answers to be had about Rose and the lion, Greg's relationship with Steven and stuff like that. There's so much more that is going to come out here that we couldn't get
I hope
into.
Greg gets to go on tour again.
I think his musician days are behind him.
Ah.
But yeah, there's a lot more that does take place, but I intentionally wanted to just stick with the early ones, so that, because there were so many in that first season, so that we could just kind of look at what they were sorting.
Yeah.
They were kind of aiming to do, and then just leave it there, because we can't cover the entire plot of a TV show, 5 seasons, and this sort of episode this format.
I did look up villains from the show just because I was curious to see what they look like, if there were
Are there-
more. There are plenty more, but the one I want to point out is the number 6 villain on this list is Kevin. His name is Kevin. That's just
It's
a
probably
kid.
Kevin James.
Is it that?
The
I was
ultimate
gonna say,
villain.
is it the minion?
No, it's just a person. It's just some guy. I don't know which one it is in this list, but yeah, it's just
You
a human.
just never know. Sometimes villains come in Kevin packages.
There's like, there's Peridot or Peridot.
Peridot, yeah.
Jasper, Spinel, Kevin, Bismuth, Blue
Oh, yeah.
Diamond. There's a whole bunch of them. So that's
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
plenty more.
There are like 3, I forget the colors. There are 3 diamonds who
White
were in
diamond
charge
was
of,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
of
I've bought
Homeworld.
wasabi almonds from Blue Diamond before.
How was it?
Oh,
Great.
yeah. I love
I don't really like
Blue
wasabi.
Diamond Is the company.
That's
Really?
the only thing. Yeah, it's and
I
I like
would have thought
spicy.
you would. Yeah,
but-
that's why I was surprised.
That's as far as we can take it. Again, we didn't do any spoilers here, because I don't feel like it's possible to. I don't feel like there's any way to. So I don't know what happens. None of us do.
Steven eats the earth.
Steven's powers are progressing, as you can see, and at some point I'm sure he becomes much more powerful than he is in these.
He
So
becomes a
that's-
much more powerful
They-
fat little boy.
Grows facial hair.
They actually describe this as a coming of age story on HBO Max, so that's cool. Like I'm sure they're taking him along, and he's going to become some sort of, I don't know, this is like an Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor situation, where at some point he's every bit as powerful as the people who trained him or something.
So is Garnet Qui-Gon Jinn in this scenario?
I don't know. I guess she would be. I just love Garnet though. That was
Yeah,
that was
Garnet
my
rules.
favorite of the gems.
Okay, I pulled up a picture earlier because Garnet, every time I saw her, it makes me think of, yet again, I've brought this guy up several times on the show, Giovanni Giorgio, the German
Yeah, he has come up
synthesizer guy.
because of the visor glasses.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what I think of whenever I
Yeah.
see Garnet.
That's shockingly close, except for the mustache. I really like that though.
I
and-
wish she had a mustache. That powerful.
Why not?
I wish she had 3 eyes. Or
And
the
a
4th.
mustache.
Take that
for
off,
each
and
eye.
maybe he does if we get those sunglasses off. Yeah, so that's as far as we can get in the Steven universe, unless we want to do a bonus one later. But how did you guys leave the experience feeling? I know you said it got better as we went on, so I know you both liked this last episode the most. So overall, how did you end up feeling about it?
I enjoyed it to the extent that I can enjoy kid shows. And this is the new breed of kid shows that I said, again, came from Adventure Time. And certainly there were others prior to that, but they have adult humor, but it's also not like a Disney movie adult humor. The problem I have with Disney Pixar movies is it's just all colors and lights and sounds blasting you in the face, because that's what kids need to stay.
Yeah, and there are good jokes here.
To pay attention.
And-
there are good
yeah.
jokes, there's color and stuff, but it's not as bash you over the head with it. So I enjoy that aspect of it. It's why I liked Adventure Time. It's why I kind of like this show. Yeah, I probably won't watch it again, but if I find it on TV, if there's ever a time when I'm flipping through the channels, I'd watch it. I would certainly do that. What I wanted to say on this, and I've totally forgot how my brain had formulated what I was going to say. So let's toss it to Brian, and I'll come back.
That way to think on the fly there. Yes, it's a very, I feel so similarly, which is I'm probably not going to go out of my way to watch it just because, it is a show primarily intended for a younger audience, and there's the depth that it has is certainly present, but I think I can find a lot of those themes in different entertainments also. But what I will say is, if this is what kids are watching, awesome, because there's a lot more going on here than in a lot of what I've seen. And I don't want to be, one of those guys in their 30s who's just like, I'm not watching a thing that's for kids. I'm just earnestly saying this is a well-made show, but, a lot of the scenes are just kind of there.
Sure.
In between, solid plotting and nice characters and jokes.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say in that, and I agree 100% with both of you guys, is that it's hard to get too invested in a show like this. I think it's cool that they had the talent that could kind of subtly stick this overarching plot while they could do that while also getting the kind of the episode to episode parts. They did appeal to kids enough. So
yeah,
I thought it was very ambitious. I used that word at the first episode where they had this long-term plan for all the characters or whatever, but they did that very subtly and they kind of interwove everything. So I thought that was quite an accomplishment for a kid's show, and it is cool that somebody is able to do that in a way where you can appeal to kids, but you can also have so much more substance underneath it, which it's not the first time that's happened, but it's always impressive when it does.
No, and you hear about that with almost seemingly any animated show that anyone that's an adult likes, is they are very quick to say, no, but also there's depth in there, and you can watch it too. And that is totally true of this show, I will say. If you're into that sort of stuff. I see now, I've met several people who really liked this show, some closer to our age and some were younger people that I've worked with. And I see why they all liked it now, in a sense, is because it has a good beating heart underneath its, what you're seeing. Also.
And there's a message of inclusivity, which is very important, particularly in this day and age. And I think that's why a lot of people liked it. And I like that about it. Now, I remember what I was going to say. And this is funny because before I watched these episodes, I had a whole thing prepared that I was going to say. I didn't need to say it because this was actually pretty good. And what that would be is I fully expected you guys to be like, well, you were too nice to the show. You're always mean to everything. I can't be mean to kids' shows like this because they have to dumb it down for kids. When you have to dumb down King of Queens for fat slobs, I can be mean about it.
Oh, man.
But
this is shot back in here.
This is just kids can't understand super deep concepts, so you have to make it easy to them.
It's a challenge, yeah, which they nailed.
And they did fantastic.
It's so good. You wouldn't hear this and be like, oh, this show has been just totally rendered to its least common denominator so that kids can understand. Right. It all goes down smoothly, and I completely think a child audience would still get what's going on for the most part.
Well, and okay, here's an example. Again, I just said all those Pixar Disney movies, when they try to appeal to kids, it's flashing lights and loud sounds and just bashing you over the face with it because that's what kids need to stay focused. This show does that to an extent. It has its colorful scenes and everything. The music is on a whole nother level, which is something that keeps me invested. That's what I need. I need that one thing.
There's actual thought and effort put into it.
It's not just a Disney song.
Yeah. I feel like people who write music wrote these.
Sure. It's not some guy who's 58 years old who Disney's like, we need you to write a song about friendship that kids will like. And he'll go, okay. And he writes it in 5 minutes. It feels like they poured
somewhere
something
Randy Newman's like, hey.
Yeah. Hey. That's what it would be.
Yeah, I think those are great observations, and it's surprisingly kind to the show. Honestly, I really had no idea what to expect from you guys when I picked it. I just knew it would be something different, and hopefully it succeeded in that sense. I think that it gave us a little bit of I don't it's not like a complete change of direction, but it was something a little different. Now, are you ready to get into what you're gonna do?
I am. And
This is always one of the most exciting things that we do for me is finding out what we're going to do
love
next.
it too. Is when we get to
Because
every
again,
other episode.
we don't tell each other.
Mm-mm.
We don't tell each other.
Yeah,
so
we get to do the big reveal.
This
and
is a reveal for us as well as you guys.
we've spoken before that listeners and people we know have contributed ideas for what shows to cover.
Sure, and we love
That's
that.
come into play before with some of the shows I know that Spencer has done.
Mhm.
And this time it is my sister who has contributed a suggestion.
Is it also 21 Jump Street?
It is also 21 Jump Street. That's
I am
the
going
surprise.
to derail you real quick.
Yes.
Because you brought up your sister. Your sister listened to the King of Queens episodes, which we just released.
Yes.
So anyway, time frame's a little weird if you're listening to this and when they released. But anyway, she explained that she also had seen all of the episodes of King of Queens. And it was at that perfect time where streaming services weren't quite prevalent yet.
They hadn't
So you
quite
just
taken
had to
hold.
watch what was on.
Yeah.
Other
And
than
that's-
wait for your Netflix DVD to
Yeah.
come in the mail.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big reason that King of Queens was successful, and I thought she was very smart when she said that.
That's actually such a
absolutely
good
true.
point because it covered like whatever it was, late 90s to like 07 or whatever, which is that exact era.
Yeah.
Before Netflix or any of the other streaming services really took hold.
So your sister's smart. Let's see what she has
she's
to say.
an intelligent person. I asked her, hey, do you want to choose a show? And she came up with one that we both watched as children and that also we both play acted in our side yard.
Oh, wow.
And it's not Indiana Jones because that's a movie, and we also would take on roles from that as well. So we're
Big
about
screen boys.
we're about to take it. That's what we would have to be to cover Indiana
we could make
Jones.
I think we could do it. I believe
Make
in
it
us.
to the big leagues. Well, we're heading west to a drier climate now.
Huh.
To the Bar None Ranch in
Yes.
Arizona, and we are watching the Nickelodeon show Hey Dude.
Hey, dude.
I don't know what this is. I'm
It-
not that familiar with Nickelodeon stuff. I never watched
Yeah.
Doug even, so
It-
yeah.
It ran for just a few seasons from the late 80s, from
Is it-
89
oh,
to, I
it's live
believe,
action.
That old.
92 or 93. They crammed 5 seasons into 3 years.
Now,
Mr. Ernst?
Mr. Ernst was the guy that led the place,
Yeah.
the ranch.
I
yes.
know this is not closely related, but wasn't there a show also called Kids in the Hall that was on Nickelodeon?
No,
No,
Kids
it
in the
was-
Hall is an adult,
And it's-
like Saturday Night
Yeah,
Live kind of
it's
sketch
one of the
comedy
better
show.
sketch shows ever, I would
Yeah.
say, or at least in
I have
from
no
what I've
idea.
seen.
For some reason, I associated it with like stuff you'd watch in the morning. I have no idea.
It didn't
You
age
could
as
watch
well
it
as you
in
would
the
think,
morning.
but it's
I
for a
did
relic, it's pretty
concern.
good.
I was concerned about that.
Mhm.
I did recently. I think I mentioned this to you, Van. Watch the Girl Drink Drunk sketch.
Oh, yes.
with Dave Foley, and I did really enjoy the idea of someone being an alcoholic where their only recourse is to sneak off to a broom closet and make a full-fledged mixed drink. I don't know why. I just think
Sounds
it's
nice.
funny.
But hey, dude.
So, Hey Dude is what we're going to be covering. There's a big horseshoe on the logo. You can watch these episodes on Paramount Plus. More on that with you guys off air later. The episodes we'll be covering are Season 2, Episode 1. It's the first episode of a new season called Loose Lips. Dust flies at the Bar None Ranch when Ted and Melody inadvertently tell Brad and Danny's most embarrassing secrets. And also Season 3, Episode 7, Dueling Ranches. A rival ranch, Snake Eyes Ranch, challenges the Bar None Ranch to a baseball game for the water rights. So those will be our next 2 episodes, guys.
Man,
That's how warring tribes decided who got the water, is a baseball game.
Yeah,
This is,
throughout history, baseball games have decided quite a bit. It is America's pastime.
I want to start a new thing here where the person you got the person who's presenting this. I want to react to it. How do you feel right now?
I'm excited.
Because you weren't last time he announced the next thing.
This time
Why
I
was
am.
that, though?
'Cause it was King of Queens. No, this one I watched, and I'm sure it's horrible. This,
Have you watched?
No.
I've not seen a frame of it since childhood.
not in 25 years, but to explain to Spencer too, this is very much like Saved by the Bell or California Dreams
Oh, okay.
at a ranch. It's a kid show. It's campy. It's goofy. It'll be fun.
I'm excited as fuck then. Yeah, this is going to
yeah,
be great.
yeah. I don't know what kind of humor it is, other than that it is for kids. It was on Nickelodeon during the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, I didn't get involved in Nickelodeon the way a lot of people my age did for whatever reason. So I don't know anything about this, but this is going to be exciting.
The only thing I remember specifically, and not even that specifically, was there was a season where one of the actors left. So there was a big dramatic leave of
Yes.
that character on the
I
show.
remember this too, and I remember which character it is, but I don't remember why.
I was sad. I just know that.
You probably shed a tiny boy tear.
And then watch Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah.
Man, I can't keep up. My head is spinning. We've covered 21 Jump Street. We've covered House. This is just recently. We covered Steven Universe, and now we're covering Hey Dude. We're all over the map here. This is exciting times. I hope that everyone listening feels the same way. We want you to connect with us and perhaps even give us some input, because we do listen. You can plainly hear. We listen to our sisters, at least, and we'll probably listen to some other people, too.
We also covered a medical show.
Yeah, exactly. That was
Maybe
from a
that's
reviewer.
not because the reviewer suggested it. But...
Maybe not, but it's still, a reviewer still asked for it, and we did it. We provided. I forget what that person's name was, GS for Life or something. But, yeah, please review us. We're available on any podcast platform, Boob Tube Boys. We're also available on the web. You can find us on boobtubeboys.com. We have some different angles we take with blog posts, and we talk about different things there related to the episodes we do during the week with a little more context, because the written word's a little different than the audio form. So we have that opportunity to do that there, and we enjoy that as well. So find us there. If you are really a fan of what we do and you want to help us make our product even better, you can find us at patreon.com/Bootu Inc. And that link is also available on boobtubeboys.com. You can find us there. You can contribute to us in any way you see fit, or just tell your friends about us. Either way, we are grateful, and we are very happy you're listening to us. You can reach us all on Twitter. We're all there. I am the number 3 French_hen. Van, where do you?
At Manly Van Lee. It rhymes.
And Brian?
At Loud Guitar Brian. Does
It
it rhyme
rhymes.
at all?
It all rhymes now. We're just decided it did. So we're available for you guys. We would love to hear from you. Please reach out to us. It's a really helpful thing, and it's gonna make us all that much better at what we do, which we love doing. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to bringing you more exciting content, starting with Hey Dude next week.
What's that? I think a tumbleweed just rolled by.
I wish you had planned something where you could get a tumbleweed to roll by, like I did the house
I
thing.
tried to order a tumbleweed.
Oh yeah. Can we do that in audio form? Let's try that.
You just hear-
Rustle.
On that note, Van, can you play us out?
About anything, I could even learn how to love when I see the way you act.